Hello, and welcome to DreamMaker Coach's Corner. This is Renee Crews, franchise coach and training specialist for DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen Corporate. And I am sitting here with Jamie Clark. She is our new VP of Marketing. And Jamie, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And I just want to first ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your time here with DreamMaker so far.
Yeah, thanks so much, Renee. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Like Renee said, my name is Jamie Clark. I have been with DreamMaker for just this year. So I started in January. It seems like it's been so much longer, but just so delighted to be here with the team. And over the last several months, I've learned so much. My background, I have almost a decade in franchising. So I've worked with several brands. Most recently, I came from a platform brand called Unleash Brands, and I was the brand president for two brands, Class 101 and Snapology. They're both children's brands. Prior to that, I was the marketing director for Class 101, for XP League, and then, a couple of jobs before that. But, basically just been in marketing and just loved, helping franchisees grow their business and tell stories and just really bring that authenticity to life in each of the market.
That is wonderful. So I have to ask you, Jamie, what is the biggest differentiation between franchise marketing and standalone tactics that you have seen?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest difference is really the balance between that brand consistency and the local flexibility. So in a standalone business, you kind of have the do whatever you want kind of process. You can pivot quickly. You can test ideas on your own and kind of change messaging overnight. But the key is that you're really kind of making these decisions on your own. But in franchising, you're part of something bigger. You're really helping build and protect a shared brand while still needing to kind of win locally, right? So the magic really happens when those two things kind of work together. A strong, consistent brand at the national level, where we come into play, paired with that local execution that really feels personal and relevant, which is where our franchisees really thrive. When it clicks, it can really be powerful because it's not just one business marketing, it's an entire network, right? Amplifying that same message across the country. And it really helps build that trust across that network.
That makes a lot of sense. So what is the greatest strength that you have seen in the DreamMaker network so far?
Well, that's easy without question. It's the people and the culture, and it's very real. There's a
Yeah.
genuine culture of care across the DreamMaker network. It is very clear that franchisees care deeply about their clients, their teams, the quality of work that they deliver from every franchisee that I've met with, from the team, from the day one, just going through the interview process. It's been very clear to me that the culture here means so much to this brand. From a
Yeah.
marketing perspective, that's huge because you really can't fake that.
That's
Authenticity
true.
is really it's really what drives trust. And trust is what drives conversations, referrals, and long-term growth. And that's really where that magic happens. So what excites me really the most is that we're not trying to create something artificial. We're just trying to work to amplify what's already true behind this brand.
Good point. Absolutely. We love the people within the network.
So yeah.
So not to spill the beans before reunion, but what can we expect you to talk about with your marketing vision?
Yeah. So let's see, I'll give you just enough to kind of spark some interest. And the team and I are still kind of building out what that's going to look like. But basically, what I'll really be talking about is how we move from good marketing, which we have a great foundation here, to really, leveling up just a little bit to scalable, more predictable growth across the network and really getting back to basics. There's a lot here that we can unpack of what we have, some of my experience and the teams, just what they put together. So this can include things like strengthening our overall brand presence across the network, making that local marketing a little bit simpler, more effective for franchisees, really breaking down some of those playbooks that we have and finding what's
Okay.
going to work locally, using data to kind of make smarter decisions. We have such a great opportunity now with the new website and, the CRM platform coming through here in a couple months. So a lot of great data is going to help us really move forward with smarter decisions. And, building systems that create more of a consistent lead flow, not just occasional spikes. We always want to be filling that funnel at the top, and we want to make sure that we're kind of doing all the pillars of business of marketing, marketing our business to really get over those occasional spikes. And really, at the end of the day, The goal is to really make marketing feel less overwhelming for our franchisees and more like a reliable growth engine that they can count on. But it will always take work on both of our sides, us here at HQ and the franchisees. That's really where we collaborate and make the most of marketing when we work together.
That's an excellent point. If there's one thing that you want all of our franchisees to know about marketing their business, what would that be?
I think the most important thing would be consistency beats intensity every single time. So you don't have to do everything. Franchisees get overwhelmed and they think that they have to do, all of the marketing tactics all at once. And what does it do? It kind of paralyzes us, right? So you don't have to chase down every new trend. You really need to just find what works in your market and really, accelerate what that is and put some time behind it. So that might be things to do consistently, like showing up regularly online,
Mm,
telling your stories, being authentic. My favorite thing to do is to watch stories of our franchisees on Facebook and Instagram and social media and LinkedIn, just really
yeah.
seeing their love and passion for the brand come alive. Because, I mean, if I see that, I know that those in their community are seeing that too, and they're relating to those people and are really seeing a family business behind that. I think
Yeah.
it's important that we follow up with leads quickly, pull down those barriers, and just find a time to connect with those people. So, whatever that looks like, making sure if somebody's coming to inquire about your business, that you're showing them love, right away. So,
Right.
really following up quickly. And people
Yeah.
are impatient. I think I am too. When it comes time to, you want to, with our phones and with, technology nowadays,
Right. We want it right
people get
now.
impatient.
Well,
So,
and
we
to
want to
that
show
point
up
too.
as fast as we can.
Right. And to that point too, with the consistency, we don't always see that immediate return on our investment of
Yes.
time and energy. So you just said it. You're looking online and you're seeing this. And I mean, we can only assume that other people within their surroundings are doing the same thing. And we need
Yeah.
to drip on people over time. So that makes a lot of sense.
That's such a good point and such a great reminder too, because, this is a big investment for a family. This is not
Yeah.
a theme park ticket. This is not, a $100 purchase. This is a
Yeah.
big investment. So what's going to happen? They're going to see an ad. They're going to come creep on you. They're going to go to your Facebook page. They're going to go to Instagram. They're going to see what you're doing on LinkedIn. They're going to discover the corporate site. They're going to, they're just going to go down this path of research, right? And then they
Mm-hmm.
might get brave enough to show up to a seminar and they're going to, sit in on that and get a little bit more excited about things. And then, so there's these moments of touch points. They say it's like
Yeah.
7 to 10 touch points before somebody actually makes a purchase. And then think about your own research. If you're doing some
Yeah.
kind of research to make a big purchase, you're doing the same thing, right? And so
Absolutely.
what is it that makes you fall in love with a company or a service provider that, where you're going to make an investment remodeling, for us? And then there's other service industries out there that we do the same research. And so showing up and being consistent in front of those people so that when their time comes, they immediately come to you. So like
Right.
staying visible. So when I say that, I mean it literally. Like if someone in your market thinks about remodeling, you want your name to come to mind before they even start searching. So that
Right.
consistency plays such a big part in it. Also asking for reviews. Don't be afraid. The biggest
Yes.
compliment your clients can give you is a Google review. So again, all of that matters. Just being consistent. Don't trace down every tactic or trend. Just be authentic and be in your community and show up for your community so that when they're ready, they know who to call.
Right. I think it's important too to realize that being on social media and having that presence doesn't always have to mean that you're posting an ad, right? I mean, if you're
Yeah.
doing
Right.
community service or you're getting out there, I think it's important to realize it's showing up that's building trust, not necessarily always having ad material or a boost in that regard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They relate to people. They
Yeah.
relate to your day-to-day life. They don't relate to, I mean, seriously, like a day in the life of a franchise owner. Record
Yes.
that. See what you're doing, showing up on site, doing the boring stuff like answering
Well, it
emails
shows them
or
who you are.
paperwork. uh,
Yeah.
and celebrating so and so's birthday or engagement, or hey, we just had a team outing and went to lunch together, because it brings you down to their level and they don't feel like they're purchasing from this broad company. They're purchasing locally, because the reality is if you're not visible in your community, someone else is, and they're going to get
Right.
that call that you should have gotten. So we just want you to show up and don't overcomplicate things.
Really good point.
And, I
So,
also don't also forget to lean into our team. That was another thing I wanted to make sure I come across. Like
yeah,
our team is here and they're incredible. They're here to collaborate and bring your ideas to life. They're here to break down some of those barriers to make your local marketing just a little bit easier for you. So I encourage everybody. That's an important piece of it too. Just leaning into the
yeah,
team, and we just love helping things happen in each local market because every market is so different. So it's an exciting part for our team too to kind of be a part of that. But when I think about being visible, it's those buckets. It's that digital present. Are you showing up online consistently? The physical presence. Are you involved locally where your customers are? Are you showing up in the community? And then that relationship presence. Are you building those referral relationships that really keep your name
right,
circulating? Focusing on a little bit of consistency in those three things really helps build that trust over time.
right. And one thing too that just reminded me that when people call in and they say that they learned of DreamMaker through Google, what led them to do a Google search, right? How did they notice the name? How did they know who to search? They're not all just going in and searching for somebody near them. There's
Right.
usually something. Maybe they saw a truck, maybe they saw a sign, maybe they remembered an event. And so there are other secondary sources than just a Google search that led them to you. And everything you just mentioned contribute to that.
Yeah, exactly. And the seminars too. So somebody might start with not find a remodeler near me or I want to remodel my small kitchen. And they might start with some of those questions that your seminars might answer. So,
Yeah.
what are the trends in kitchens? They might be thinking so far in advance and it's not even approachable yet. So they might just do some research. So what are the trends in our kitchens and bath remodeling these days? Or, kind of
Yeah.
get an idea of things. So when you have seminars that are showing up online and you're promoting them via your social media and your events page on your website or maybe even a blog post here and there, those kinds of things will show up when they're starting their research. And so again, like having a little bit of consistency all over the board will help you show up wherever they start their search.
Right. Excellent. What are you seeing as the market demand in the remodeling industry? I mean,
Yeah, so I've done a lot of research. I mean, obviously coming into this role and with the team
yeah.
and kind of seeing the past and the future of the industry. And what's been very clear to me and in my research is that there still is a very strong demand, but it is evolving. So what we're
Okay.
seeing right now is not a slowdown; it's more of a shift to a new normal. Because if you think about it, there's a few big forces that really continue demand. We have the aging housing stock. So the average home is over 40 years old. So there's just a natural need for updates and repairs. So that's not a trend, that is a need.
Yes.
Second, a lot of homeowners are choosing to kind of stay in place instead of moving. They might have a great neighborhood. The cost of living is a little, outside their reach,
Yeah.
especially if they've been there for a long time. Interest rates are still kind of high. So they're really not starting, they're continuing to invest in the homes that they already have. So again, that's not a trend. That is a personal need there to make a home more efficient for where they are today. We also have a growing focus on that aging in place and sort of that long-term living, which, that's
Yeah.
also fueling those remodeling projects. The elderly still needing a safe place to stay or just those common upgrades that just need it to be more efficient and up to date. And then kind of from a number standpoint, the industry is still very massive. It is over $6 billion annually in the U.S. So we're seeing that steady growth continuing into 2026 and beyond. So the numbers are there, the data is there supporting that people are still remodeling and that industry is still high in demand. Again, not a trend. This is just a natural need that's happened. But what has changed is a little bit of the homeowner behavior. So because
Okay.
of the economy, of course, there's a little bit more intentional spending. There's a shift towards those kind of value driven instead of purely discretionary ones. So they're going to be more thoughtful about these remodels or, their investments in their homes because it's a long-term investment. It's not just a glow up, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
And that's a word from my teenagers, of course.
Yep.
And then a lot of focus on function, comfort, and real personalization. So they're spending more time in this. So, the trend is it's not a trendy project. It is a need, and the homeowners are just being a little bit more thoughtful. So the opportunity is absolutely there. And so when I think about where we come in and where we win as DreamMaker is first and foremost building trust and communicating that value very clearly. So it's not a numbers game, it's a value. It's how we do our projects, it's how we, walk you through
Yes.
the whole design project from start to finish and how we make it easier for you. So those are all the values that we provide. And so when we talk about like numbers, of course those are very sensitive and that's got to be a real part of those conversations. But we have to build that trust and so that value early and then really position ourselves as that safe and reliable choice. So I think those are just, we also get intimidated as a salesperson, right? Of it's so expensive, they're not going to want to buy it. But if you switch your mindset to talk about the value and the service and the relationship
Yes.
that you're providing them first, the money just kind of falls into place because they trust you and they want you to be a part of this journey. It's a mind shift sometimes as well.
You're singing my song, Jamie. I often hear price come up. People are concerned about price, absolutely. But have you ever bought something based on price and regretted it instantly? I mean,
Yeah.
you pay the price sometimes in the beginning or after the fact. And so highlighting the value, as you just said, is a huge, huge component. And especially what we do in this industry, it's trust. That's the differentiator in the value, I believe.
Right. And even those word shifts from like price to
Yeah.
investment.
Yes.
Price is a word, price has a nominal value to it. Investment feels more long term, it feels more
Yeah.
solid. So even in the conversations when they're asking you or talking about the price and they're using that kind of terminology, shift the answer back to your investment or some of those
Oh,
softer
yeah.
words that really help turn their minds around. The value we provide is so much more, the investment that we're helping you with, investing in your home. So those kind of dialogue checks can also kind of help, curve the conversation a little more softer as well.
Yeah. It's one of those 1% shifts that we can
Yeah.
make that move the needle. I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly.
Excellent. We're kind of talking along this grain anyway, but I wanted to ask, what do you think holds franchisees back the most when it comes to marketing success? Where are they stifling their own growth?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I see this honestly in all of the brands I've ever worked with in franchising, and it really comes down to overcomplicating things or kind of waiting too long to take action because they're paralyzed. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'm not a marketer, and there's so many options here. So, again, it goes back to one of our earlier questions. You don't have to do everything, you just
Yeah.
need to focus on one or two things. But a lot of our franchisees, and again, and all the brands I've ever worked with, they feel the need to have a perfect plan, the perfect message, or more time to start. So, the reality,
Yeah.
reality is it's a momentum. It's small acts that kind of that build over time that really drive results. So, don't it doesn't have to be perfection. It can just be progress. It's just all about progress. If we can help our franchisees kind of simplify their approach and just keep moving forward, I think we'll unlock a lot of growth across the network. But again, it comes to them trusting us too. So my team, I talk a lot about trust with the franchisees. We want to make sure that, we're asking the right questions and we're listening and being thoughtful of the situations to help them grow and their local marketing confidence as well, because it's intimidating, So we want to make sure that we're also working together and providing that value from our team to them as well.
Yeah, which links back to one of the very first questions, the differentiation between franchising and standalone, right? So it's
Yeah,
part of the network and um, making sure that people utilize the resources that are available to them. I think that's a key component of being successful is knowing what's available and then using it. So,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
outstanding. So, what question do you wish I had asked?
Well, I think you hit most of the good ones. A lot of times with, let's see, with franchisees, it's intimidating. I don't know how to word the question, but I think a lot of franchisees just get intimidated with marketing. Like I said, it goes back to that being paralyzed with decisions and, with the lack of confidence there. But I think if somebody were to ask me, where do I start? Just tell me one thing I need to start this week. And I would say just show up online and start telling your
Mm,
stories and get out in the
yeah.
community. So that's where that authenticity really starts. And so when a franchisee comes to me like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not a designer, you don't have to be. I'm not a marketer, you don't have to be. I don't know anything about digital marketing, you don't have to be. Just show up, just be yourself and show up and pull out that phone, capture some great content that's happening in your design center and in your community, and just show up and get out there. And I think that's a great place to start. And I think that's where
Mhm.
that really starts building trust in the community.
Outstanding. Jamie, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to sit and chat with me today. And, for anybody listening, know that you've got resources available to you. And we've got Jamie
Definitely.
and our marketing team and the coaches and everybody else. I mean, there are a lot of resources available to people within the network. So thank you, Jamie. I
Absolutely.
look forward to learning even more.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm excited to see everybody at Reunion in just a couple months. 8 weeks, I think. 8 weeks
Yes.
away.
Yeah, but who's counting, right?
Right.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.